Are you just starting out with esports coaching for players or maybe just teams? Or are you maybe a more experienced coach that already coached for a couple of years and just want to see if you are on the right track and can improve your coaching overall? In this video, we will cover 5 common mistakes beginner coaches and oftentimes experienced coaches from time to time still make. So grab a pen and a piece of paper and let's get into it. What is up, guys? My name is Donny from nextlevel.esports.com, the #1 platform for esports coaches and team development to help you and your team to reach their next level by getting the people side of esports right. So before we dive into the 5 common mistakes esports coaches make, let's talk a little bit about mistakes in general. Mistakes are often looked down upon because from our school system, from a young and early age, we get to know and learn that mistakes are bad. But in real life, and especially within coaching, making mistakes and pushing the barriers out of your comfort zone is actually a very good thing. If you're not making mistakes, you probably are not learning. So just to stand still, mistakes are good. But do we need to make mistakes that other people already made? Because what I see within esports coaches and in general within the esports landscapes, the same mistakes happen over and over again. Why is that? Because there's not much education about coaching within the esports environment. Very young people are just like promoting themselves into coaches, and they don't have any prior experience of teaching or coaching in general. Only a few of them have, and they are probably doing better at coaching than the other coaches that doesn't have like any education or experience into coaching. So that is a big thing as well. So in this video, I want you to also see that other coaches make these mistakes that we're gonna sum up very soon, that you don't have to make them, or at least be conscious about, because when someone points out a mistake, it doesn't mean like, oh yeah, that's a mistake, I can fix it immediately. Sometimes it takes a day, sometimes you can instantly adjust to it, or sometimes it just takes like a month or 2 or 3, depending on like your own personality, how you behave, or how difficult it is on the thing that you want to improve. So let's take a look at how to learn from mistakes and really dive into someone else's mistakes so you don't have to make them, or you can still make them but you're conscious about it so you can progress through the mistakes that you're making a lot faster. Let's jump into the first common mistakes esports coaches make. Number 1. The first mistakes a lot of esports coaches make is that they tend to focus on everything. So if you're at a practice or maybe on one-on-one coaching, they write down or they say everything that comes in their mind that can be improved. And this can be from tiny details to like the meta perspective of like maybe a mindset or anything. And although those points are probably, most of them are legit and very beneficial, but to focus on everything that is a mistake or that can be improven and talked about, then there is a lack of focus. And if there's a lack of focus, it is very hard for your coachee, so the player or the team that you're coaching, to extract all that value or that information that you have as a coach for them to implement it. So if you have, let's say in 1 hour session, you have 15 points that they can improve on. Of course, they can write them down, but oftentimes it's better to select a few focus points. So it can be 2 or 3 points that you're really diving into. So because when we are looking at mistakes as well from players, it could also be a one-off. Like they don't generally make that mistakes, but it is a pattern and you view it and it's good to point it out. But look for patterns, like the biggest picture. What kind of issues of the maybe 12 points you've written down or you talked about are the most impactful for that player? So if you have a one-on-one coaching session for an hour, Write down all the points that you see, or maybe in between, you talk through them and you can point them out. But at the end, give them a few focus points. For example, okay, Harry, I wrote down these 15 points and I will give them to you, but there is some few focus points that have much more impact than the other 12 that I've written down. Let's talk about it for a little bit more. So they can use their own time by checking in or looking at 12 other points, but more focusing down into the 1, 2, or 3 points that you really want them to improve on. Because one mistake can maybe, let's say, for example, improve their skill 5%, but getting a type of meta perspective or the way a view of the game, how the game is actually played, it could improve their skill for, let's say, 15% over time. So you need to balance those things out. What has the most impact, and what has the most impact would be my focus point. So to recap, as a coach, bring focus points and focus on a few points that are mistakes or things that players or the team can improve on, and go deeper on that specific topic than just spread out all your attention to maybe 10, 20, 30 topics esports coaches can bring up in one single session or one prac day. So there you go. Number 1, bring focus. Number 2, so a common mistake as well for esports coaches, and I see it all the time, is a be like me coach. And what is a be like me coach? Now, let me explain first where does this derive from. So esports coaches often are old players. They are veteran players and they know so much about the game, all the knowledge, all the different tactics, all the mechanics, all these kinds of things. And later on, they get a more interest into coaching as well. So they think, I have so much knowledge, I want to imply it on the newer players, or I think I feel fine and good and powerful as well by teaching others as well. But the common mistakes is the be like me coach, because they've done something that worked for them. They think in their mind, unconsciously, so not consciously, because they try to bring value. I think you want to bring as much value as you can as a coach, so you're not conscious about this mistakes if you make it. But it's like, oh, I've done this all the time and it works for me, and because it works for me, I am right. And when you do something different, you are probably wrong. While these coaches don't take into account different learning styles, different personalities, all these kinds of things. So they are a be like me coach. So I do this, just go aggressive, just play like this, just play like that. If they played their whole career, for example, very aggressively. But we are dealing with a player who is more passively or more team orientated. So ask before to solve this be like me coach more questions about the person. What kind of play styles do you prefer? How do you view yourself as a player? So you get more insight and more knowledge about the player and how you can fit your coaching into their perspective. So you can add on value to what they already know, instead of you just have to forget about the defensiveness or you have to go very aggressive. This can work from time to time, and in some aspects it can be effective, but more of the times is it less effective because it doesn't fit their nature of the player or the playstyle that they've developed for years and years that they're really good at. So think about it and don't be a be like me coach, but think about how can I provide as much value for this particular team with all the individuals, all the personalities in it, or this particular player, so you can be a better coach. That is it. Number 2, don't be a be like me coach. Mistake number 3 esports coaches make. So what is next mistake is also commonly and widely there in the esports landscape, and that is giving solutions. So what do I mean with it? So you probably might thinking, if I see mistakes and they don't see it, I give solutions, right? Because if I give solutions, they can have the solution and they can solve it and they can improve their skill. It sounds logical, and in some way that is a good way of thinking, but there is a big but. The best way for players to learn is for let them to come up with their own solutions. So instead of bringing the solution, you ask questions that brings them towards that solution. So they feel like they've learned something, they got a new view of how to view things, and also this really, really helps you in the long run. Maybe this can work better in one-on-one settings. Let's say if you are a coach that you can book for one-on-one or maybe game reviews. But if you are a coach within a team, then you can run into a wall later on because you make the players that you coach a bit lazy. Because if you give them all the time, all the solutions, they kind of stop unconsciously thinking about their own solution, what they can improve. So every time they have a problem or they have a skill gap or they don't know how to improve, they turn to you. And even though that's like a compliment that you can have the knowledge and the solutions, but it doesn't learn them how to think and how to critically think on how to improve their own gameplay or their own style or their own communication. So you want them to ask as many questions as possible. So for example, if they're making a play, it doesn't matter if it's League of Legends or Counter-Strike, instead of going into the action and to say, oh, this particular play that was super bad because you positioned here and then you need to went there and then rotate between this or communicated this to the team. First ask the question, what was your intention at this play? So you get more information, all right? So you understand their perspective better. So what did you think about this play? How did it play out with your attention? What do you see in yourself that could maybe be improved? And they can ask some different questions about their perspective if they can see the problem or the mistake that they've made from themselves, what it's truly about. So not maybe a surface mistake, but maybe an intention mistake that they misunderstood something. That could be it. So if they don't see that mistake, you can always say it. But oftentimes you will maybe be perplexed or maybe be surprised how much your players can actually solve of themselves if you ask the right questions. So fire different perspective questions around that mistake, but don't mention the mistake until they say it from themselves. That is the most effective coaching because they will think about it, they will speak out of it, and this is a thing, if they thought of it themselves, they came up with it, and they spoken out the mistake, what they are going to improve the next time they are in such situation, it has like 90% of successful rate that they are gonna actually apply it into their gameplay instead of you giving the teachings, the solutions that is about 15 up to 30%. Let's say, how do you call it? The successful rate of the communication that you can have by bringing up the solution. So you can 3x your effectiveness by asking the right questions. So number 3, don't bring the solutions, ask the right questions. Mistake number 4 that esports coaches make. So this next mistake is more for the team-orientated coaches, so not the individual coaching, because it's about the connection and the team cohesion as a whole. So when esports coaches are making a team or they are responsible for building the roster with itself, they often look at the skill, what the players bring in, but they forget about the interpersonal aspect of how do players behave. Are they toxic? Yes or no? Are they able to speak up in a group, or are they very loud and maybe obnoxious within the group that maybe pressures the other players down so they can filter out their own opinions and such. So as a coach, don't only select for skill, but also select for interpersonal skills as well as experience, how they behave, how they communicate in game. And sometimes it's also good to look at their home environment as well, because sometimes you have one that is doing like exercises, physical exercise, going to the gym and having a healthy lifestyle, but other players have like their day and night routine switched up. And if you want to have like a culture or daily routine within your coaching environment, that can bring issues as well. So don't only pick the players on their skill, but also on the other aspects, because that will make you more in control of the environment and set up a culture that can be of more or be more effective for you and your teammates as well, so you can get the best results as well. So it also depends on what you think is important as a coach, but it's something to think about, because I've seen so many coaches not succeed because they brought in the right people in a culture that they want to set up, but the individuals didn't match the culture that they want to imply. And I've made that made that mistake as well, and it feels bad, because you don't really only damage yourself as a coach or the team as a whole, but also that individual person, because he doesn't really fit the culture. So do your pre-active like homework on what the players are, ask for experiences from other teams as well, so they can give a good opinion, and you have as much as a complete view of who the players are before you start coaching the team that you are working with. So number 4, don't only select on skill, but also look at the outside, the interpersonal aspects, the home environment, and all these kinds of things to create the best team culture as possible for you as a coach. The 5th and the last mistake for this video, and this is what I see also commonly across the esports landscape, and that is starting off with the professional or the pro view perspective. So of course we all look at the professional scene, the top 0.0001% that is competing at the majors, at the world's tournaments, all these kinds of things. But oftentimes we forget that we are in reality, that we are not within a team that is that much of a high level, and that we are dealing with good players, exceptional talent, but not at the world stage just yet, because they didn't have the proper coaching, or they are maybe younger or not developed enough. So when you come in as a coach, what I often see is that coaches bring like these pro play views, or in League of Legends drafts, or in Counter-Strike certain setups that they try to run, or in Rocket League certain rotations that they try to achieve or to do, and they can spend hours or maybe days and days to try to learn it, but in the end sometimes it's just too much to handle, or too difficult or too complex to understand and to fully know what the underlying principle of those tactics and strategies are. So instead of only looking for the pro perspective, like, oh, that is what they are doing, that's what Team Liquid is doing, that's what Origin is doing, that is what they are doing, that's what G2 is doing, it doesn't mean that it works for your team. It's always nice to look at the pro view. There's always something to learn, and I would highly suggest you keep on looking at those things and extract value from it, but also look at the reality, not only at the clouds, like what is possible and these are the gods of esports are playing, but be in reality. What kind of players do we have? What kind of personality do we have? What kind of play style do they have? Do they play aggressively, passively, more team orientated? Are they very impulsive, that they want to just go at it again and just play a lot, or are they more in tune with theory, that they need more explanation to improve their skill or their knowledge about the game. So try to extract the knowledge from the professional scene, but see how that fits on the current reality level that your team is at. So you don't bring up a disconnection that it is too hard and you get disappointment after disappointment when your team doesn't or isn't able to apply your knowledge as a coach to reach the next level. So number 5, the last one of this video, is don't bring up the professional scene as that is the way to play. Use it, but also look at the reality where you and your team or maybe individual players it is right now, and see how you can extract those points from the professional scene. Maybe break it down in little pieces so it's more controllable what you are aiming for and what your goals are, and then you can really boost the improvement of your players as a whole, as a team, or as an individual. And that is the end of this video of the 5 common mistakes esports coaches make. So if you learned anything, or did you feel maybe personally attacked by these mistakes, comment down below, because I'm very curious what helped you to improve or change your perspective to become a better coach. So if you have also any more suggestions about upcoming videos that you might want to see, or maybe solve a problem for you within your team or your personal coaching, please reach out to me in the comments below, and I can see what I can do to provide the most value for you guys. So if you want to learn more as well, we just made a new video last time about the coach criteria, how to become a more authentic and motivated coach. So if you're starting off with esports coaching, that will be a very perfect start for you as well, to get more in tune and stay motivated over the long run as well for experienced coaches. So check that out as well in the description down below or here at the screen. So if you want to keep notified about more videos about esports team development, or for maybe esports coaching, or just coaching in general, and you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe, share it with other esports coaches and teams, and hit the notification bell so you will get notified when I upload a new video. So thank you guys for watching, hope you enjoyed it, and see you guys next time.